Hey there, little Miss Illy. So I heard you enjoyed the book that was read the other night to you, the After Hours book, and I was a little surprised your mom let you hear it. But I got another one that had less colorful language. So so let's do this one. And see, the whole idea. Let me explain something. The whole idea of a book, like at bedtime, is there's a certain pattern that maybe you have a certain routine, and things that you do, and maybe brush your teeth and use the potty, and you know you get in your pajamas and stuff, and then right before you go to bed, maybe even sing a song or something, and then read the book. But then after that, the last thing is you actually go to bed. Wouldn't that be cool if you just went to bed like at some sort of reasonable hour? And for you, that wouldn't be too long after the sun set. Whereas you stay up, it's more like right before the sun rises. But anyway, so I have this book here. This one was actually a favorite of mine when I was a kid, but this one's called The Littlest Angel. It's got a little boy here, and he's got wings, so I think that's probably the guy they're talking about here. Right, and then he's in a very big place. He's got little pillars and clouds, and he's like this big, and everything's big. Right? Once upon a time, many, many years ago, as time is calculated by men, but which was only yesterday in the celestial calendar of heaven, there was in paradise a most miserable, thoroughly unhappy, and utterly dejected cherub, who was known throughout heaven as the Littlest Angel. He was exactly 4 years, 6 months, 5 days, 7 hours, and 42 minutes of age when he presented himself to the venerable gatekeeper and waited for admittance to the glorious kingdom of God. Oh, that's where he is. Okay, that would explain the significant looking of the place. All right, and then there's this guy right here. He looks kind of friendly, I guess. He's old. He's got a little pen there. Got a book. All right. Standing defiantly, the littlest angel tried to pretend that he wasn't at all impressed by such unearthly splendor, and that he wasn't at all afraid. But his lower lip trembled, and a tear disgraced him by making a new furrow on his already tear-streaked face, coming to a precipitous halt at the very tip of his small freckled nose. But that wasn't all. While the kindly gatekeeper was entering the name in his great book, the littlest angel, having left home as usual without a handkerchief, endeavored to hide the telltale evidence of snuffing. The most unangelic sound which so unnerved the good cape that he did something that he had never before in all his eternity done. He blotted the page. That happened. He blotted. This little happy smile must have been before the whole blotting incident there. From the moment on, the heavenly peace was never quite the same, and the littlest angel soon became the despair of all the heavenly hosts. His shrill, ear-spitting whistle resounded at all hours throughout the golden streets. It startled the patriarch prophets and disturbed their meditations. Yes, and on top of that, he inevitably sang off key at the singing practice of the heavenly choir, spoiling its ethereal effect. And, being so small that it seemed to take him just twice as long as anyone else to get to nightly prayers, the littlest angel always arrived late and always knocked everyone's wings askew as he darted into his place. Although these flaws in behavior might have been overlooked, the general appearance of the littlest angel was even more disreputable than his deportment. It was first whispered among the seraphim and cherubim, and then said aloud among the angels and archangels, that he didn't even look like an angel. And then that's him. He's like, and singing and thing, and just singing his little heart out there. And the company he's keeping, though, these other people, like angels singing, that they don't look a little happy about that. They look a little unhappy. Maybe unhappy, I don't know. Maybe surprised is a better word. surprised at the sound of his voice. People are surprised like that at my voice too, so I can relate. And they were all quite correct. He didn't. His halo was permanently tarnished where he had left it on the floor with one hot little chubby hand when he ran, and he was always running. Furthermore, even when he stood very still, he had never behaved as a halo should. It was always slipping down over his right eye or over his left eye, or else, just for pure meanness, slipping off the back of his head and rolling down some golden street just so he'd have to chase after it. Man, that was just a halo. Shoot. Yeah, he's having quite the time with that. But, in all fairness, he's never had a halo before, and this halo doesn't sound like he's cooperating anyway. Well, he's just sitting there upside down, holding on to his halo as best he can, I think. Yes, and it must be here recorded that his wings were never useful nor ornamental. All paradise held its breath when the littlest angel perched himself like an unhappy fledgling sparrow on the very edge of the gilded cloud and prepared to take off. He would teeter this way and that way. But after much coaxing and a few false starts, he would shut both his eyes, hold his freckled nose, count up to 303, and then hurl himself slowly into space. Well, that would explain the upside down holding the hair. Okay, got it. Now I'm with it. On the right page, as they say. However, owning to the regrettable fact that he always forgot to move his wings, the littlest angel always fell head over tail. Yes, now that makes a lot of sense. Got the upside down. All right. And there he is again. He's walking, and there's like a moon and an elephant and a rainbow, and it's very, very nice picture. It was also reported and never denied that whenever he was nervous, which was most of the time, he bit his wingtips. Now anyone can easily understand why the littlest angel would, sooner or later, have to be disciplined. And so on the eternal day of an eternal month in the eternal year, he was directed to present his small self before the angel of the peace. And the littlest angel combed his hair, and he dusted his wings, and he scrambled into his almost clean garment, and then with a heavy heart, he trudged his way to the place of judgment. Well, that's what he's doing. He's trudging here. There we go with all the stuff there. Okay. That changes that picture for me a little bit, too. He tried to postpone the dreaded ordeal by loitering along the street of the guardian angels, pausing a few timeless moments to minutely inspect the long list of new arrivals, although all heaven knew that he couldn't read a word, and he idled more than several immortal moments to carefully examine a display of harps, although everyone in the celestial city knew that he couldn't play a note. But at length and at last he slowly approached a doorway which was surmounted by a pair of golden scales, significantly that heavenly justice was dispensed within. No, that's not what it says. It says, signifying that heavenly justice was dispensed within. See, now that makes a whole lot more sense. To the littlest angel's great surprise, he heard a very merry voice singing. You got that. Oh, look, a little giraffe in there, too, just hanging out. It looks like a piano right there, and you see a hippo, over here, and that's this guy right here in the window. He's hanging out, too. There we go. All right. The littlest angel removed his halo and breathed upon it heavily, and then polished it upon his robe, a procedure which, adding nothing to his already untidy appearance, and then tiptoed in. The singer, who was known as the understanding angel, looked down at the small culprit, and the littlest angel instantly tried to make himself invisible by the ingenious process of withdrawing his head into his robe, which made him look very much like a snapping turtle. At that, the singer laughed, a jolly, heartwarming sound, and said, "Oh, So you're the one who's making all heaven so unheavenly. Come here, cherub, and tell me all about it. The littlest angel ventured a furtive look. First one eye, then the other eye. Suddenly, almost before he knew it, he was standing close to the understanding angel and was explaining how difficult it was for a boy who suddenly finds himself transformed into an angel. Yes, and no matter what the archangel said, he'd only swung once, okay, twice, okay, all right, 3 times on the Golden Gate. But there was just something to do. That was the whole trouble. There wasn't anything for a small angel to do, and he was very homesick. Oh, not that the paradise wasn't beautiful, but the earth was beautiful too, wasn't it? Created by God himself. Why, there were trees to climb, and brooks to fish, and caves to play, and pirate chief, and a swimming hole in sun and rain and dark and dawn, and thick brown dust so soft, warm beneath your feet. And so he was explaining all this to the guy, and they were talking about it, I think, a little bit. And there we go, and here we go, and just... He's listening, he seems to be listening intently, and still, the guy's still smiling, so that's looking good. The understanding angel smiled, and in his eyes was a long-forgotten memory of another small boy from long ago. Then he asked the littlest angel what would make him most happy in paradise. The cherub thought for a moment and whispered in his ear, "There's a box. I left it under my bed back home. If only I could have that." The understanding angel nodded his head. "You shall have it," he promised. And a fleet-winged messenger was instantly dispatched to bring the box to paradise. And then, in all those timeless days that followed, everyone wondered at the great change in the littlest angel, for among all the cherubs in God's kingdom, he was the most happy. His conduct was above the slightest reproach. His appearance was all that the fastidious could wish for. And an excursion to Elysian fields, it could be said and truly said, he flew like a damn angel. Son of a gun. But he was doing really good now. He's all happy and he's smiling, and I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, everybody looks happy there. Flying around, All right. And then it came to pass that Jesus, the Son of God, was to be born to Mary in Bethlehem. And as the glorious tidings spread throughout paradise, all the angels rejoiced, and their voices were lifted to herald in the miracle of miracles, the coming of the Christ child. The angels and archangels and seraphim and cherubim and the gatekeeper and the waymaker, and yes, even the halo smith put aside their usual tasks to prepare their gifts for the blessed infant. All but the littlest angel. He sat himself down on the topmost step of the golden stairs and anxiously waited for inspiration. That happens a lot. We all just wait for it, and I'm still waiting. But anyway, what could he give that would be most acceptable to the Son of God? At one time, he dreamed of composing a lyric hymn of adoration, but the littlest angel was woefully wanting in the musical talent. Then he grew tremendously excited over writing a prayer that would live forever in the hearts of men, because it would be the first prayer ever to be heard by the Christ child. But the littlest angel was lamentably lacking in literal skills. What could a small angel give that would please the holy infant? The time of the miracle was very close at hand, when the littlest angel at last decided on his gift. Then, on that day of days, he proudly brought it from his hiding place from a cloud, and humbly, with downcast eyes, placed it before the very throne of God. It was only a small, rough, unsightly box, but inside it were all those wonderful things that he and a child of God would treasure. A small, rough, unsightly box, lying among all those glorious gifts from the angel of paradise, gift of such rare and radiant splendor and breathlessly beauty that heavens and all the universe were lighted by the mere reflection of their glory. And then the littlest angel saw this, He suddenly knew that his gift to the God's child was irreverent, and he devoutly wished he might reclaim his shabby gift. It was ugly, it was worthless. If only he could take it away from the sight of God before it was even noticed. But it was too late. The hand of God moved slowly over all the big array of shiny gifts, and then it paused, and then it dropped. And then came to rest on the lowly gift of the littlest angel. See, there's the little kid right there, and he's first he thought it was a great idea, and then he's comparing it to all that other stuff, all shiny and everything. He had a change of heart. Now he's all sad. Look, there he is, sad. The littlest angel trembled as the box was opened, and there, before the eyes of God and all his heavenly host, was what he offered to the Christ child. And what was his gift to the blessed infant? Well, there was a butterfly with golden wings, captured on one bright summer day on hills above Jerusalem, and a sky blue egg from the bird's nest in the olive tree that stood to shade his mother's kitchen door. Yeah, and 2 white stones found in a muddy river bank, where he and his friends had played like small brown beavers at the bottom of the box. A limp, tooth-marked leather strap, once worn as a collar by his mongrel dog, who had died as he had lived, in absolute love and infinite devotion. The littlest angel wept hot, bitter tears, for he knew that instead of honoring the Son of God, he had been the most blasphemous. Why had he ever thought that the box was wonderful? Why he had dreamed that such utterly useless things would be loved by the blessed infant. In frantic terror, he turned to run and hide from the divine wrath of the heavenly Father. But he stumbled and fell, and with a horrified wail and a clatter of hail, rolled in a ball of misery to the very foot of the heavenly throne, which I think is exactly where he didn't want to be. There was an ominous and dreadful silence in the celestial city. Silence complete and undisturbed, save the heartbroken sobbing of the littlest angel. There you go, right there. He's not a happy camper right there. Oh, shoot, yeah. Anyway, all right, here we go. Then, suddenly the voice of God, like the divine music, rose and swelled throughout paradise. And the voice of God spoke, saying, "Of all the gifts, of all the angels, I find that this small box pleases me most. Its contents are of earth and of men, and my son is born to be king of both. These are the things my son too will know and love and cherish, and then regretfully will leave behind him when his task is done. I accept this gift in the name of the child Jesus, born of Mary this night in Bethlehem." And there was a breathless pause. And then the rough, unsightly box of the littlest angel began to glow with a bright, unearthly light. And then the light became a lustrous flame. And then the flame became a radiant, brilliant light that blinded the eyes of all the angels. None but the littlest angel saw it rise from its place before the throne of God. And he, and only he, watched it arc away from heaven and shed its clear white beckoning light over a stable where a child was born. And there it shone on that night of miracles, and its light was reflected down the centuries deep in the heart of all mankind. Yet earthly eyes, blinded too by its splendor, could never know that the lowly gift of the littlest angel was what known by men would call forever the shining star of Bethlehem. There you go, that's the story. And it didn't have any cussing, so I don't owe Aubrey a time for that today. But anyway, I hope you have a very good night. And like I said, the whole point of reading a book before bedtime is that you at some point have to go to bed. You know, because your mind needs to rest a little bit. Anyway, I love you. Love you, Lily. Grandma loves you. Have a good night.